This is Comic Picks by the Click.
Yeah, I'm your host, Jason Glick.
Hey, Jason, what do you have on tap for us?
Well, it's like tonight is something that I've had in the tap for a good long while. Thing I probably should have talked about, a while ago when it originally came out, but other stuff was on tap that I wanted to talk about before, or like more pressingly than this. So this is kind of relegated to like a hey, break in case of emergency when you needed, the space to like, bridge one podcast from another. That being said, this is still talking about like two comics that I really like. One I consider like maybe an all time classic from its creator, and its follow up, showing you that hey, he's still got it in the right project. I am of course talking about Brian Michael Bendis. Bendis is someone who I got big into when he broke big in the at the turn of the millennium. I'm writing Ultimate Spider-Man. It's like easily like one of the all-time like best Spider-Man titles, which it originally sought to like reimagine Spider-Man for a modern audience at the time, but just did a great job of just boiling like like the lovable loser like superhero action parts of Spider-Man down to its core, making them like so much more accessible and just like much more immediate and dramatic in terms of just like how the regular Spider-Man titles have been for for comparison. I love this, and then but Bendis also like went on to like deliver great runs like on Daredevil, it's like Avengers, and just and also like deliver like a great creator-owned series with powers. Basically, this is a guy who like like in his prime could do no wrong, and yeah, if he did like hit like had occasional like miss, like it was just like it's like something that could be easily shrugged off because like, hey, there was still like all the stuff he was doing on Marvel's regular titles that you could like you just go back and go, hey, he's still firing on all cylinders here. Well, that time goes on, and like even though like Bendis continued to, like knock it out of the park with like Ultimate Spider-Man, even after he killed Peter Parker and then gave us a Miles Morales, that was still great. But then we get stuff like like his X-Men stuff, which was all right, but really kind of gave the feeling as a guy just had some like strong ideas about X-Men, but didn't really like understand like like the history of the characters, or was really interested in the continuity behind them. That um was something that I did appreciate for Daredevil and Avengers, because I had not been really reading those titles like before he took over. But when he did take over like X-Men with being like the main guy with that, with like all new X-Men and Uncanny X-Men, well, it's like him just like delivering like the like takes on these characters that didn't feel just really like concurrent with like the how they've been portrayed in the past. Didn't really sit well with me. It's like, I mean, yeah, there were some good stories there and some good ideas, but it's like just kind of felt that like he was just kind of like winging it, like for lack of a better term, and that kind of like continued through like his latter days at Marvel up, and then he eventually like decamped to DC, and did a did did some work with writing Superman's like titles, which had lots of good ideas, but not really like a whole big cohesive like follow through like on both Action Comics and Superman. I mean, like I said, there was a lot of fun stuff there, but I didn't say like like his run was just like something that was like that was on the level of his Marvel work. And the less said about his work to redefine like DC's spy side, with Checkmate and Event Leviathan, the better. Um, but then like and he also did like some other creator owned stuff there. Like he gave us like new volumes of Powers, like Scarlet and Cover, like and Pearl, through DC, but those eventually fell by the wayside. And then, well, he's found himself at Dark Horse, like in his latter days, and he's continued to like do new titles such as such as Joy Operations, new volumes of ah it's like of United States of Murder Inc. and Misbegotten new titles like a Masterpiece, which just kind of like that one was just like it was meant to be like a new take on the heist narrative, but it just kind of felt like he was just like blowing up cliches for the sake of doing that, but not actually giving us like a coherent story like otherwise. It basically like Bendis has felt like he's been on a cold streak for like a good long while with all this new stuff, just not being as good like as what he's delivered before. And like the best we can hope for is something like, say, the latest volume of Murder Inc., Jagger Rose, which has style, like clever dialogue, and even if it just kind of felt like he's just like trying to like, aim at a specific point in the narrative without actually like doing the hard work in order to deliver on it, it still has enough style to be entertaining. But is it as good as like his all-timer stuff like in Ultimate Spider-Man, Jinx, or Fortune and Glory, his story of trying of working in working in Hollywood after it gets a hint of like, hey, this is a guy we may want to do business with. This was originally a 3-issue miniseries published through Oni Press, and collected by them, and I originally had that collection, but then I originally bought the updated Icon edition published through Marvel. It's like because it was it was like expanded, had extra material. It's like, oh, and it was in color too. That's nice. But this is basically this is one of Bendis's best works, and I thoroughly recommend it. Even if you think like, oh, Bendis, man, it's like I know him. Like he's just like that guy who just like who's into decompression, just has like lots of characters, just talking about like random stuff before they actually get into the plot and all. But no, this is great because it delivers a credible, believable, funny, and entertaining take of one guy's experience through the Hollywood machine back in a specific time. Like this would be around the turn of the millennium. It was originally published back in single issue form in 1999, and it's basically like talks about how Bendis like how he how he got some notice for doing his crime comics, and how a like a 2-page spread in Spin magazine basically brought him to the attention of Hollywood, basically saying that, hey, it's like we think you might be interested, like, hey, and this it's like this like one of your projects, like Goldfish, like we see this as the perfect vehicle for Pauly Shore. He's looking to break out of his weasel image as well. And Bendis like then goes on to like a bit saying like, oh my god, it's like how do they see us as Pauly Shore? Like is this is this the best I'm capable of? It's like, and the collection is full of like stuff like that because it doesn't have like a solid defined narrative. It's like a lot of stuff that happens to Bendis and him relating it like in his like like inimitable voice, and just talking about just all the fun the fun random bits that happens. Like it's like one time when he's working with a producer, and his producer happens to be married to Annie Potts, and how he's talking about like, oh my god, it's like how he and his best friend spent their entire college years answering their phone saying like, Ghostbusters, what do you want? And him saying like, oh my god, I wish I had the guts to ask her to like do my answering machine, but no, I didn't. So fun stuff like that, but also just like interesting bits about just how the Hollywood machine works. Because like even though like the book starts off with him having a meeting at Robert De Niro's Tribeca Center with some producers about the script he's done for the movie version of Goldfish, and like these guys saying that hey, we really like what you've done. It's like, and it's like, and we're looking forward to like working with you. It's like, and we got ideas about the directors you want. But then Bendis basically saying that I had this feeling wasn't going to get made like based on that. And then he goes into hey, here's who I am, here's what I've done, and here's my experience with the Hollywood machine. And it's entertaining. It's equal parts like frustrating just from dealing with like like the like various Hollywood insecurities like people who work there, like the producer he meets like one time when he says that oh I've like it's one of the production houses I was working on Armageddon at the time, and he says like I've heard it's gonna be good. She's like, oh, what did you hear? Like that it's gonna be good. It's like, oh no, but what did you hear? Like that kind of nervousness, and that's what the first two issues are centered upon, like his his encounters like with these Hollywood executives, and just dealing with this madness, but also like his own feelings as well, in terms of just like getting used to this, and also meeting with like people who help guide him through this, director Gary Fleder, who like at the time was known for like Things to Do in Denver When You're Dead, and was mentioned as a potential like a director for the film version of Goldfish, and it's like, and when he meets with Bendis, like he gives him this great advice saying like, hey, don't be afraid to just walk away if the deal goes bad, because hey, you've got comics, you've got something else you can fall back on. Everyone else going out here, they got nothing. And also his buddy listed in the in the comics as David Spree. Like that's not his real name. His real name is David Engel, but he wanted to, but he was worried that being listed as his real name in this tell-all comic would be bad for his career. But this guy like actually does a good job of like getting Bendis into shape, just like telling about what to expect, but also just helping him doctor his script, because like one of the like big errors Bendis makes is when he's adapting Goldfish. Like his first draft of the script is like 280 pages. Keep in mind that the average script, one page of script equals like 1 minute of screen time. And so like when Bendis this is like, oh my god, I fucking suck, and his Dave goes, hey, no, we can, what's in here is like good. It's what people like about your comics, and we can like right, help you drill this down. There's a good movie in here. There may even be two. So yeah, like that's like his Bendis' experience in comics, like with Goldfish in the first two issues, and then the third is him working with his buddy Mark Andreyko about like them trying to get another of the comic they made together, Torso, about about Elliot Ness's like efforts to like apprehend the first serial killer, first known serial killer working on American soil. It's like they made a graphic novel about that. It's great, and originally it was eventually going to be made into a film directed by David Fincher, starring Matt Damon. But before that even happened, before that film fell apart, well, he and Draco went around to try and sell this as a package to to various Hollywood people, and oh boy, it's like it is a thing, and just like seeing them try to do this, and like the people like the level of ignorance they run up against is astonishing. And yeah, it's like it's not just like like every like people they meet are just like dumb and stupid, because yeah they are, but they're also do like this in interesting ways. And but also like Bendis and Draco are also like have their own issues as well, like when they completely fail to deliver like a good pitch the first time, and then his agent has to set him up with like a friend of his in order to make sure that they're not complete screw ups when they go around to pitch this. So yeah, it's like even though it's like a lot of like like description like just Hollywood rigmarole, like it's executed like really well. It's like, and gives you like a really good picture like of how the Hollywood hype machine and production machine works, like at the time. And I'm still willing to bet it's true today too. But it but Fortune and Glory like really feels credible, has really entertaining like dialogue from Bendis throughout, and he also illustrated it as well, which like brings to life is like he's got a good caricature style that really it's like that really enhances the work. And even though it's like like it's been mentioned elsewhere that that he's not been like the best artist. He's certainly a very capable one, and his work serves the story well here. Um, I thoroughly recommend this to basically anyone interested in experiences in the Hollywood machine, or just if you're a fan of Bendis and you've never read this before. I mean, I kind of find it hard to imagine people who aren't, but it's like, but like if you haven't, then you need to add this to your library ASAP. But the thing is though that at the end, like in the updated afterword for the Icon edition, Bendis talks about like all these like other stories he has, like with other Hollywood experiences, like Comic-Con experiences, working with Marvel stuff as well. But like 20 years later, like after like originally publishing this, it's like, well, okay, well, 10 years after the Icon edition, we got nothing. It's like, Bendis is just, gone on doing himself and, encountering that cold streak that I mentioned. But then, well, Bendis also like, jumped on the whole Substack train that people were doing a couple of years ago. And well, one of the things he decided to do was do another installment of Fortune and Glory. This one being specific to his very brief tenure working on the Spider-Man musical. Yes, Spider-Man: Turn Off the Dark, the ill-fated Broadway musical, like originally spearheaded by Julie Taymor, with Bono and Edge providing the music. And if you're wondering, wait a second, I never heard about Bendis working on this. It's like, what exactly does he have to say about this? Well, here's the thing about this story. There's not a lot of Bendis working on the Spider-Man musical here. But if you're if you're fine with that, if you're fine, I went into that expecting like a lot of that here, but that's not what I got. There is actually some bait and switch in this, in the sense that he uses like that his experience working on the Spider-Man musical as basically like set up for talking about like him and his history with comics in the medium, and just showing how he got into comics, how he eventually broke into the medium, and then broke into Marvel as well. Personally, I really enjoyed this. This is easily the best thing Bendis has done in years. Like, possibly like better than like all of the stuff that he contributed through his DC stuff, and certainly like the best thing he's done since his time at Dark Horse. It really conjures like the it's like the witty dialogue. It's like it's like that whole in this whole raconteur experience. Like just him, just a guy filled with confidence, like and like a healthy perspective and self-deprecation about his experiences here. Because yeah, the Spider-Man stuff is good because, well, like we've learned early on that he's not a musical guy, and yeah, his wife thinks it's disgusting that people who have been wanting to do musicals for years, who have like burned themselves out trying to do this. Well, he's just getting this opportunity thrown right in his lap right here. And Bendis, but then Bendis has to get into the musical form. He has to learn about it, and then he also has to contend with director Julie Taymor's like bizarre ideas, especially that bit about the spider goddess Arachne giving Peter his powers in the musical, and how she basically says, yeah, it's like, you understand what I'm talking about here, and Bendis is like thinking to himself, no, I don't, but she's like, yeah, you talked about this in the first issue in Ultimate Spider-Man. It's like he's first thing like, wait, no, I didn't. Oh wait, I did. God damn it! Because he remembers like he had like Norman Osborn give this like big old evil villain speech like that invoked like the spider goddess Arachne, and he intended that basically as a big hey, this is how evil Norman is. Get to know how bad this guy is. But Tamor saw this and thought, okay, this guy gets it. Bring him on, and we'll go from there. How that eventually worked out, well, I think you should read that for yourself, because it's definitely one of the highlights of the book. And yeah, there's definitely like a lot of hindsight is 2020 here from Bendis's perspective, but it's still entertaining, as is his personal history of getting into comics. Yeah, it starts when he was a kid, and just all the goofy stuff he did, like making his own like Fantastic Four like audiobook with his brother. It's like, and also just making his own superhero comic, The Powerful Pachyderm, or just making a Punisher versus Punisher and Captain America comic that he went and reiterated on every time he learned something new, as in terms of in terms of like the medium of comics, that then he never actually did while at Marvel. Crazy, huh? But it's also just fun, like hearing him recount bits like where he discovered comic book conventions, and where he went to this one that was in a it was in a hotel basement, and he met Swamp Thing artist John Totleben, and just how he just learned about how comic artists shrunk down from the from the panels that the artists produce, and it's like and then Bendis going like, "Oh my god, like yeah, this is great, but why are you so here in this in this small place with so little people?" And he's like, and Totally Bendis tells him, "Oh, yeah, this is like an overflow from the big Comic Con across the street where Walt Simonson is." And Bendis like, "Walt Simonson's across the street. Damn, I gotta go." So, and then he talks about how he just knows now that this is like hugely disrespectful. And while apparently Ben told him like no, that he didn't even remember it years later. It's like Bendis still feels just hugely like embarrassed that he did this, just knowing now like what's going on, like how rude fans can be at his own conventions. And also just talking about how like the hustle he has to go through when he finally does start making his own comics, but also just him trying to him meeting and making lifelong friends here, including like Kabuki writer and artist David Mack, who's also done significant work at Marvel by creating the character of Echo for in the pages of Daredevil. But but yeah, it's like I I I was, even though it's like this wasn't entirely about Bendis's work, um on the Spider-Man musical, I was still really entertained like when he was just talking about himself, just because like he displays a confidence. It's like and like an innocence of fun and self-deprecation that doesn't make it like insufferable. It's fun like hearing about him. It's like he displays like that, just like that guy like who you listen to because he's like he knows what he's talking about, and you like hearing him speak. That's what you get from the second volume, even when it's like not delivering on what's advertised. So yeah, it's like Fortune and Glory the musical is a very worthy follow up like to the original. Oh, and also it's worth noting that Bendis did not illustrate it like he did last time. This is done by Bill Walco, who's not someone I'm familiar with, but he's got a very good like cartoonish caricature sense that it's not too dissimilar from Bendis's work in like the original Fortune and Glory. There are some bits where it kind of feels like the panel progression like does not like play out the way that it normally should like for comics, but that's not often. And really, it's like it's like his characters are expressive and animated, and they tell the story well. It's great stuff. And yeah, it's like I recommend it. But yeah, I mean, if you like Fortune and Glory, then yeah, you're gonna love the sequel as well. I was thoroughly entertained by it, and it makes me wish that Bendis, or whatever he does next, is going to be something along these lines. I mean, it's not, because like he's currently returning Two Powers for a 12-issue run with Mike Oming, which I certainly hope is better than the it's like than the it's like in the last like storyline we got, the best ever, which wrapped up um like um like the series up to that point and was terrible, honestly. But yeah, it's like but then but Bendis also mentions that his time attending conventions with David Mack was something that they have like tons of stories for, and that hey, he could fill like an entire comics worth of them, probably even another like Fortune and Glory volume like this, because I get the feeling that maybe his time at Marvel is still too fresh in the like in the rear view. And yeah, it really, and even though it's like I think it does a good job of like illustrating the difficulties of breaking into Marvel with like in Fortune and Glory the musical. There's not really a lot of like dirt dished here, so like I get the feeling that he's like not keen on like burning his bridges, or giving the appearance of burning his bridges, like with another story like this. But hey, if he wants to give like the story of like his and Mac's time like attending Comic Cons or comic conventions back in the '90s, then hey, I'd totally be there for that. So yeah, both volumes of Fortune and Glory, highly recommended. I mean, not just if you're a fan of Bendis, but hey, if you're wondering like what the deal with the guy has been with all these years, then yeah, I think these volumes are good like easy introduction to like giving his appeal. As far as like where you go from there, well, Ultimate Spider-Man is always great. Most like the vast majority of Powers is also good too, and like I really like his Avengers. But yeah, it's like I certainly hope that he it's like that he gets to the point where like he stops whiffing at the bat with his new stuff. But yeah, it's like Fortune and Glory. Both titles are great, and yeah, you're probably gonna see the musical on the best of list for this year. Assuming that there aren't any you know like a lot of other like huge major stuff that pops up in this as well. Possibly like the stuff that I'm going to talk about next time, which we'll see how that goes and all.
All right. Well, it just depends on what you're going to be talking about next time.
Well, the first batch of absolute DC titles like are coming my way. So yeah, I got thoughts on absolute Batman, absolute Wonder Woman, and absolute Superman. And hey, absolute Wonder Woman has already won the Eisner for best new series. But hey,
Really? Yeah.
really. So yeah,
Sweet.
but I'm also looking forward to seeing if hey, if Scott Snyder's talent for writing Batman and only Batman carries over to this reinvention.
Yeah. All right. Well, sounds good. We'll catch you next time on Comic Picks by the Glick.
Laters, everyone.